Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I feel like this type of episode was all that I did a while ago, and then I was really into talking about confidence and the subconscious mind, and all of that is still going to be around, don't worry. But I want to take it back to the OG content. If you've been here for a while, you know, one of my areas of speciality, expertise, and just passion and interest is gut health because it's something that was the bane of my life, my constant focus for years and years and years. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing gut healing mistakes. There's five of them I see all the time. People thinking that they're doing the right thing and they could be on the right track, but just missing some key aspects, or they're just going too complex and not addressing the foundational things, or they're just doing very trendy, faddy things that aren't really going to make a difference because there is a big difference between a 2 week candida gut cleanse and a real transformational gut protocol like I would put some of my clients on. So after today's episode, you'll hopefully feel a little bit more guidance and know what your next steps are if you want to heal your gut and the main things to avoid, basically the roadblocks and the things that can drain you of so much money, so much time, so much effort. Because I thought I'd found the answer when I started to hear about gut health because it was driving the majority of my symptoms, my skin issues, my food sensitivities, my reactions to foods, joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, depression. We know all of these things are linked to gut health, absolutely. So at least if you've made that connection, you're on the right track. But it doesn't just stop there, or it doesn't just require some simple dietary shifts. There's so many factors that go into gut health, and it can be this bi-directional relationship with things like hormone health. In order to have healthy, balanced hormones, you need to have good gut health. But in order for your gut to heal, your hormones have to be balanced. Hormones like cortisol, hormones like insulin. And then with the gut-brain connection, most people have heard about this, and we know that it works top down. When we're stressed, when we're anxious, we can end up with stomach aches, this knot in our stomach, butterfly sensation, but it goes the other way too. So when we have gut infections, gut inflammation, leaky gut, it can contribute to brain inflammation and it can affect our behavior, our mood, our cravings, and the rest of our body because the brain is the control center. And yeah, when I first started to hear about gut health, I was really excited and it was significant, but there's just a lot that goes into it. So I just want to get into the episode and not leave you waiting any longer. We'll start with number one. The first gut healing mistake to avoid is thinking that just taking a probiotic or adding in some fermented food is going to heal everything and is going to be the answer to your prayers. Some people do get improvements, and especially the type of probiotics that I use with clients, there is a real big difference between those and the ones that you can get in the health food store, the ones that are promoted on Instagram, the liquid one, especially if you know if you know what I'm talking about. They can be helpful. How much of that is placebo effects? Who knows? But the ones that I use, they're called spore-based probiotics. So they're actually very different. Not all probiotics are created equal. And I've had people experience massive success with that. But just one change in your diet or one change in your lifestyle probably isn't going to undo years, if not decades, of imbalances going on in the gut. And it depends on how significant the imbalances are. I find that it's usually not just one thing that's going on. There's usually multiple different imbalances, infections present. So if you have leaky gut, for example, there's probably some bacterial overgrowth present. There's probably some yeast overgrowth. There's probably some parasites in there. These, I call them the frenemies. They often go together. They often overgrow when the environment of the gut is just unhealthy. So to think one little probiotic or adding some sauerkraut to your meals is going to heal everything. I hope that for you. I really hope you notice a difference, but also don't be discouraged if you don't completely heal from doing that because you're on the right track. You have started to make the connection between gut health and your symptoms, which I love. And these symptoms don't have to be the classic digestive issues either. You might not have any digestive issues at all, no bloating, no gas, no constipation, but still have really poor gut health. I've actually seen some of the worst stool test results with clients from those who have the least digestive issues, but the most skin complaints, mental health issues, fatigue. So don't rule yourself out for these recommendations if you don't experience IBS or have inflammatory bowel disease. It's very, very likely that something is going on in your gut if you have other symptoms in your body. All disease begins in the gut, as Hippocrates said, and I agree with that, but it's not a simple route to healing sometimes. There's many different factors involved. And with fermented foods also, this could be kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. These are some classic examples. Not everyone is a good candidate for them. If you are familiar with my story, when I first started to try and heal my gut and I was reading the classic things that were told, it was to have fermented foods at every meal. I was brewing my own kombucha. I was making my own sauerkraut, putting in all of this effort, and I was actually getting worse. I didn't realize at the time that I had a histamine issue. I had mast cell activation syndrome, which is histamine intolerance on steroids. Very, very reactive to these fermented foods. Anything that had this bacterial proliferation. My body already had really high histamine levels, and I was just adding more on top of that. And I was convinced that I was going through some sort of detox and healing crisis, but in fact, my body was just absolutely rejecting the histamine, and I was getting worse. It wasn't that I was improving and detoxing like I thought I would. That's why I pushed through. It was actually the wrong thing for me. I'd say histamine is probably a factor in about 50% of my clients. That is maybe something else that I can talk about and have spoken about before. So it's not the histamine episode, unfortunately. But if you try fermented foods, if you feel worse, if you feel more allergies, itchy skin, headaches, runny nose, itchy eyes, anything like that, bloating excessively, then it could be that you have a histamine imbalance too. And fermented foods might not be the right fit for you right now or ever. And your tolerance for histamine can improve, but the beneficial bacteria that are in fermented foods can be gotten from somewhere else, like probiotics. If that's even the right thing for you. With probiotics, it's not even a one size fits all with that. A lot of people do tolerate the spore-based probiotics that I use, but not everyone. And they can be quite powerful, so you definitely need to start slowly. I do find that they are better tolerated than a lot of the ones on the market, but that also there might be situations where you don't need probiotics or you need to do something else first. If you have a major bacterial overgrowth in the gut and you're taking these standard probiotics that just add more bacteria to the gut, it could just make that worse. The spore-based ones again are a bit different because they can have antibiotic-like effects. So I describe them as being like the adaptogens or the regulators for gut health. If you're not really sure what's going on, you don't know if you have too high levels of bacteria, too little good bacteria, both can manifest in the same way, then these probiotics just go in there and regulate either way. So they are the safer option, but also not for everyone. So that is number one. Number two is that you're eating the wrong amount of fiber. And it might be that you're eating too much fiber, which is the opposite of what we're usually told. People usually think in order to have a healthy gut, you need to eat 25 different plants or whatever it is, whatever that recommendation is, every single week. But again, if you have bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, weak digestion, all of this fiber could actually just be aggravating and irritating your gut even more. So there's this tipping point, and it's different person to person. It's also different based on where you're at in your healing journey. There's been points in my journey where I've been able to tolerate very little because I was just reactive to a lot of foods in general, a lot of fruits and vegetables because of the lectins, the nightshades, the salicylates in there. So I mainly did meats and some starches and just the minimum amount of fiber that I could tolerate, and I actually felt better doing that because my gut was so messed up. And if I was adding in all of this extra roughage and fiber to an already inflamed, irritated gut, it was just giving it way more work to do than necessary. Even with constipation, the more fiber you eat, in some cases, the worse the constipation can get. Because if you have bacterial overgrowths, they feed off that fiber. And if you have certain types of bad bacteria or it's in the wrong location, if it's in the small intestine, overgrown in there, as opposed to where it should be, primarily in the large intestine, the colon, you're feeding all of this bacteria. They produce gas, and that gas, if it's in the small intestine especially, can really slow things down. It can slow motility. And that's how some people, more fiber can slow down the gut, and it really just stagnates everything in there. And that is a breeding ground for disease, infections, and inflammation. But there are some people who are under eating fiber. So it's about playing about with your intake, finding what works best for you. It might fluctuate even around your menstrual cycle, or the deeper you get into your gut healing work, you might be able to tolerate more. I definitely have, and I can eat a lot of fiber now and actually feel the benefits of it, the benefits to my metabolic health, slowing down blood sugar and and insulin release in the body. So it helps with my body composition. It helps me stay fuller for longer. Fiber helps with detoxification as well because it helps to bind onto toxins and flush them out of the body. So don't get too attached to, I need to eat 25 grams of fiber every day. It might change. There might be times where 10 grams is more than enough, and certain types of fiber you might do better with soluble versus insoluble. And then as your healing journey progresses, you can experiment with more fiber, see how you get on. And if you do increase, just know that that should be gradual. Don't expect yourself to go from eating 10 grams a day to 30 grams a day because you probably will feel worse. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just too much, too fast. And it can really alter your microbiome within a few days. For long term, the better, but it's just too much of a change. And you probably will feel a bit uncomfortable for the first few days. So try different types of fiber. Maybe you do, I feel like a lot of people do better with just cooked vegetables, no raw vegetables. And maybe you do best with fruits, cooked fruits, stewed fruits versus big bowls of salads. So yeah, just know that there's not this general amount that everyone should be having, and it's about finding best what works for you. Maybe do a week or two of a lower fiber diet. How did you get on then? Monitor your symptoms, monitor things like bowel movements, energy, appetite cravings, and then try a higher fiber diet, slowly increase it, or maybe do it the other way around. If you're already eating a moderate amount, amp it up for a little bit and then drop it a bit lower. And a week or two will allow you to have a clear idea as to what's going on, because a few days there's just going to be too many changes and it's not going to be enough time. So that is the second one. Number three is people start with the final gut healing step and they miss steps 1 to 4. So the final gut healing step that I'm talking about is restoring the gut lining. If you're familiar with the term leaky gut or intestinal permeability, this is the very delicate, fragile gut lining, which in some parts of the colon is only 1 cell layer thick. To put that into comparison, the skin, think how easy that is to damage, cut, and irritate. The skin is 7 cell layers thick. And parts of the gut lining are only 1 cell layer thick, and it's what separates the contents of the gut versus the bloodstream, the inside of our body. So it should be this semi-permeable membrane that allows good things in. Our food, when it's fully broken down, can cross through that barrier. So I imagine it as being like a fishing net. So there's holes in there to let the good things in, but if the holes are too big, it's going to let these big things through that shouldn't really be there. So this is leaky gut, or the sciencey name is intestinal permeability. If you want to read about the research and how it is connected to most diseases, if not all of them, you can do. And when I started hearing about leaky gut, I was like, yes, that's absolutely me. I definitely have this. If you have an active autoimmune condition, whether it's lupus, Hashimoto's, celiac disease, type 1 diabetes, there's going to be leaky gut involved in order for you to have that autoimmune condition. If you have allergies, if you have food sensitivities, histamine issues, definitely if you have digestive symptoms, but even conditions like acne and joint pain can be linked to leaky gut. But the thing that's usually recommended is going in with all of these nutrients and herbs and products that help to heal that gut lining, which makes sense. And you probably need that at some point. But if you haven't removed the actual cause as to why the gut is leaky in the first place, you're just trying to put a band-aid over the rips in the fishing net that we've just been talking about. It's not really fixing the problem. So it's a bit of a waste of money and time and energy and effort. And the really good leaky gut support products can be quite expensive. The ones that I use are absolutely amazing. They use ingredients like colostrum and immunoglobulins and marshmallow roots and slippery elm, and they're amazing formulations. But if you're going into that final step without doing all of the prep work beforehand and actually removing the triggers as much as possible, we're never going to be able to avoid all causes of leaky gut because we're just up against so much in the modern world, but you can massively reduce the irritants and the triggers. Some of the most common things that I see are medications, antibiotics, definitely PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, or stomach acid blockers, even over-the-counter ones like Gaviscon and Tums. There's irritants in the food, things like gluten. In everyone who eats gluten for a period of time afterwards, they have a leaky gut response. It just depends on how long that goes on for and what else is going on in the body as to how they manifest that, how that shows in the body. Pesticides in food, hormonal birth control, chlorine in tap water. As I said, some of these are pretty hard to avoid completely. So if we can control the controllables, that's at least going to reduce our triggers. Technically, the gut should be able to heal on its own if these triggers are managed very well. Within a week, we should have a new gut lining. But in order to speed up the process and make sure that we're just giving our body the best chance possible, I do eventually go in with these gut healing products. Some other examples are collagen and gelatin, homemade bone broths and all of that. But if you still have a parasite present and that is causing ongoing damage and inflammation to the gut lining, all of that colostrum and lovely bone broth that you're eating might help, but it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. It's not going to be enough to get rid of the parasite and heal the gut simultaneously. So look into why you have the leaky gut in the first place. Are you just chronically stressed and mindlessly eating every single meal that you have? And do you have a bacterial overgrowth? Do you have SIBO? Do you have Candida overgrowth? A skilled practitioner can help you to figure out what's going on. I don't expect you to know this for yourself if you're not trained in this. And then work on that imbalance, and that will change depending on what is going on. The treatment for a parasite is very different to the if you're eating gluten and you're sensitive to it, you're going to need to do different things for those. And then eventually, once you've addressed the first few steps, if needed, it might just be that you remove the triggers and the gut heals naturally like it should. But then if you want to go in with extra gut healing support, this can make a big difference for a lot of people. And this can be the time where they start to really feel a shift in the symptoms and the skin starts to clear up and the food sensitivities start to go away. But please make sure you address the first few steps before going into this final gut healing work. A mistake that I made another mistake, there's been many of them, that's why I'm sharing today's episode, is that one of the ingredients I was using, L-glutamine, is another common gut healing product. And I started taking that years and years and years ago, and it actually made me really sick because I didn't know at the time as well that I had issues processing glutamine or glutamate. I already had very high glutamate levels because of my exposure to toxic mold, and I had a lot of mineral imbalances and nutrient deficiencies like magnesium that meant I wasn't converting the glutamine into GABA. And I had also really, really severe reaction to MSG in foods. If you remember, this was probably 2019, 2020. I went to a Thai restaurant and it was like a really nice restaurant, but a lot of them do use MSG as a flavor enhancer. And the next day on the drive home, I luckily wasn't driving, but I had a severe reaction to the MSG. I was having a seizure, I was vomiting, I just felt I was just passing out for hours and hours and hours in this cyclical way. So that was a very crazy experience, and that really opened my eyes up to there being no one size fits all. And I could be reading that L-glutamine is good for my gut health, and my gut health was off, but I really shouldn't have been using L-glutamine. So there's so many nuances, and you just really need to be careful because you could just take this general information that you read online and it could actually set you back quite a lot. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean? Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox. You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. Number 4, and the next mistake to avoid on your gut healing journey kind of ties into the last one. It's that you're not looking deeper into the root causes of your gut issues. And I don't just mean you're throwing at your gut these healing products, but even before that, even if you find out that the cause of your leaky gut is a candida overgrowth or a parasite or SIBO or a gluten sensitivity, or you have low stomach acid and you're not absorbing your food properly, why did those things happen? Why have you developed SIBO? Why have you developed a parasite? Because there can be 2 people who go to a restaurant. One of them gets really sick with food poisoning. They're eating the same meal and the other person is absolutely fine. Why is that? Why is it that one person then develops IBS and picks up a parasite and feels awful the next few weeks? The other one either has no symptoms or they vomit once and then they're absolutely fine. They're good to go. It usually comes down to the overall terrain of the body, the host versus the actual infection or the bug. And even with things like low stomach acid, that's not really a root cause. That's still more of a symptom. SIBO is still more of a symptom. It's not the root of why that happened. So you just want to be like that annoying little kid and just asking why did this happen in the first place? With all of my clients, I do a health timeline for their benefit, but mainly for my benefit, and just to see how everything's played out over the years and led them to where they are today. I could have two people with an IBS diagnosis, but the way that they got there and the way that that developed can look very different. One person, it might have been since childhood, and it started with a lot of dairy sensitivities and antibiotics for ear infections, and then they got really bullied at school versus someone else who went through disordered eating, dieting, got food poisoning, and then got toxic mold exposure. That was me. The second one was me. So always keep asking why, working with a practitioner who is trained in looking at these deeper root causes and isn't just going to keep trying to kill SIBO over and over and over again without looking as to why this is happening. Why are you such a hospitable host for these bacteria to either not clear or just keep coming back time and time again? It could be something in regards to your immune system, a toxin exposure, an emotional component, a subconscious block that you're having. Your body is just in a really stressed and depleted state, and it's not able to fully heal and recover. There's a lot of different factors. So keep looking deeper into the root causes. There's usually more than one. There's usually many things going on, but it's so important. Otherwise, you are just going to be chasing your tail and spend a lot of time, money, effort, and energy into kind of the right things, but you just need to keep taking it a bit further back. And then last but not least, the final mistake that I see is that someone is overlooking the energetic and emotional components to their digestive issues. If we think of the energy centers of the body, the digestive system is governed by the solar plexus, and this is involved in our inner power, our self-confidence, our security in the world. I also would ask, what are you struggling to digest in your life? Is it a certain trauma? Is it something in regards to relationships? Is it something in regards to your work? Is it something about yourself that you're trying to hide and shove down and suppress? Is there something that you're not processing well in your body? You're not managing your emotions properly and expressing them, and instead they're just remaining in the body and causing disease. The emotion of worry can also be very linked to the stomach. So when they say about worry contributing to butterflies in the stomach, this is a classic example, or your stomach drops when you get bad news. This whole area is just commonly overlooked in the naturopathic and functional medicine world. I wouldn't expect your conventionally trained doctor to bring up things like this, talking about your solar plexus chakra, but even in the holistic world, I just feel like it is such a missing piece of the puzzle. And that is why I'm trying to make it known that you could be eating the best diet in the world, taking all of the supplements, and even doing your amazing gut healing protocols. But if you aren't looking at the energetic side of things, or even subconsciously, what do you believe is possible? Do you believe it is possible for you to live a healthy, thriving life? Do you believe it's safe for you to be who you really want to be in this world? Or do you feel like you're always filtering yourself and you don't feel like you are your authentic self? That can absolutely contribute to digestive issues. So please look into this a little bit more. All the organs are linked to certain emotions. Another example is fear being linked to kidneys and the urinary system. Grief can be associated with the lungs. But as we're talking about gut health today, it's a lot of anxiety and worry and not feeling secure in yourself or maybe in your living situation, in your home. There's a lot of different avenues this can go down. And if something pops to mind for you hearing me talk about this, then that's probably what you need to work on. But if not, someone can help you to see your shadows. Sometimes we can't see our own shadows, and then it's not until you're chatting with a coach and you're going through your childhood and you would never think that the two are connected. You being bullied or you being really stressed during exam periods in high school, that might have been the catalyst. And even though that is over, you're no longer going through your GCSEs at high school, but that could have contributed to some initial imbalances in the gut, and you've never fully processed that memory. And it might not seem like a big deal now, but younger you, that was like your whole world in that time. And then if those imbalances were left unaddressed, they can just get worse over time, especially if you've then been on medications, you've been on the birth control, you've been through breakups, you've been through um, over exercising, dieting, drinking alcohol, overeating sugar, antibiotics. It all just adds up over time. And I have clients say that they're actually not that stressed at the moment, but maybe they went through just a really big stress a few years ago, and that contributed to the initial damage, so to speak, of the gut. And then even though they're in a better place emotionally now and they're not as stressed, the body had never fully recovered from that situation. And the stress can also be things like childbirth and going through the menopause or new work situations. Stress can be this umbrella term, so it's not just about these big, huge traumas. We all have things that we've gone through that can affect our gut health because this is where a lot of nervous system tissue lives. It's where a lot of immune system tissue lives, and it really is the center of our body and the center of our health. So when it's off, that's why it can be linked to pretty much every symptom, head to toe, you name it, there's probably a gut health connection. So speaking of the energetic, emotional connections, as of this week, you might have seen on social media or my newsletter, emails. If you're not already signed up, you can do that on my website. All the latest updates and upgrades and everything. But my one-to-one coaching program, formerly known as Hormone Reset, has now had a little glow up, a little rebrand, and it's now the Restoring Energy Program, aka Reprogram, which you might be familiar with the name of because I actually did a group coaching program probably 18 months ago, 2 years ago, with the same name. And I just love it so much because it incorporates the physical restoring energy. Restoring cellular energy is absolutely key for everything to work. In order for you to ovulate strongly and have really balanced hormones, menstrual cycles, fertility, restoring energy helps you to build muscle and have proper brain function and to detox and to heal and just get up and go and do all of the things and live your dream life. So we're doing all of the physical work like I've been doing for years and years and years now. So if you're wanting to heal your gut, if you're wanting to detox your liver and balance your hormones and regulate your immune system through these protocols, mineral balancing, then we're going to be doing all of that stuff, but also with the added component of restoring your emotional body, reprogramming your subconscious, looking into your identity, working on your mindset on a deeper level. And the accompanying course that you get alongside the one-to-one coaching sessions will be absolutely packed full of EFT tapping videos. There's a whole resource library of EFT tapping videos, hypnosis and meditation tracks on there. There's breath work, there's even workouts and Pilates, there's journal prompts, there's audios that can help you to identify limiting beliefs. I've really built this out over the years now, and I'm so excited to launch this week. So it's the first podcast episode that I've shared this, and I could not be more excited. I'm taking on new clients, and if you're someone who wants to spend the next 6 months working together on this really holistic level to completely transform your health and regain that trust in your body, regain your confidence in your plan. You're not just trying to wing it and ask ChatGPT how to heal your gut. You're using someone who is an expert in this area and who has helped hundreds and hundreds of people over the years now reclaim their health. And I would love to guide you through the process, hold your hand, and make it completely personalized so that you know exactly what you need to do and you feel confident in the whole entire process. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, this reprogram signature coaching program now, there is the link in my bio to learn more, to fill out the application form. If you're like, yes, this sounds perfect, sign me up. You can find that in there. And also, if you have a few more questions, you can DM me on Instagram at Viva Natural Health, or you can complete a application for an enrollment call. So if you want to chat further before going ahead, just share a little bit more about your situation, what you want to work on to make sure it's a good fit, then you can book a free 30-minute call with me as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want more episodes on gut health, I can definitely do Q&A, or maybe talking about the histamine thing. Just let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. Send me a message, and I will see you back here next week for the next episode.